New jobs report due out this Friday. Government shutdown could derail that release. Let's talk about it, as well as some other potential economic problems that could come up at a shutdown. Doug Flynn joins us from Flynn Zito Capital Management. Hello, Doug. I was saying earlier that
Hey, Connell.
Sometimes we look at the stock market as the measure, and that's a tough one because the stock market could very well do great with the government shutdown. But the economic consequences, they're real. Like the Congressional Budget Office estimated the last time there was a major one, Trump won, 2018, 2019, reduced GDP by a total of $11 billion, but that included $3 billion that was not recovered. So what would you say about the shutdown?
Yeah, that's really what happens is, well, it's going to affect the information that we get, the jobs report that's coming out Friday, as you mentioned. And also it can affect the inflation report if it goes on a little longer, because that's due out on October 15th. And the reason why those two numbers are really important is because the Fed is really focused on both jobs and inflation and figuring out what to do with interest rates. And they need the data prior to their October 29th meeting, which is the second to last meeting of the year. And everyone's anticipating rates getting lowered. But if we don't have the data, we don't know what they're going to do. So there is some impact there that can happen if we don't get the data and if they stay sort of in the shutdown for a little bit longer.
I can hear people, though, already on the Trump side saying, well, data's no good anyway, and we weren't going to release it every month. You remember? They actually said, they were floating that anyway, so they say, oh, that's no big deal. But you're saying now, at this time, it's a big deal because of what the Fed's looking at.
It is a little bit of a bigger deal because they're so focused on these two pieces of data. And look, they already have all the data collection for the releasing of both the Friday number and the October 15th inflation CPI number. They already have all the data. So they're just not going to be there to release it. Now, of course, it's already there. We could hopefully get it, but they're not going to because they're not working. But it's really then the starting of the next month's data collection isn't going to be there because there's no one there to collect the data. And that's to be seen whether or not that the way they're doing it is still the best way to be done.
And real quick on the stock market and something like this, am I right that, I feel like it's tough to predict whether the market would even react at all?
Yeah, I mean, usually in the short run it doesn't, because any short-term hit to GDP, which can sort of weigh into the market, in the medium term comes right back, almost all of it, except for a few things. So it really only depends if it's a very long-term shutdown. That can have a more meaningful impact, and I don't think anybody's expecting that. So it's really not that big a deal if it's even in a short run, if we get the majority of it back in the midterm. But I think what they should do is they should stop Congress from getting paid, and let's see how long it takes them to figure it out if they can stop that. Of course, they still get paid in a shutdown.
Isn't that essential employees, which we could debate, right? I'm sure many people would say, really? All right, Doug. Thank you, my friend. Doug Flynn on that.